Hello and welcome to Souq Business Landscape, your weekly deep dive into the world of business, the evolving economy, and the forces shaping development across industries and nations. Now, each episode we break down the trends, challenges, and innovations that drive markets and move societies forward. I am Olumide Sokoya. I have the three, well, not musketeers this time around. I have gentlemen and ladies. Starting from my left, I have Omobola Sandra. It's good to have you. Nice
It is.
look.
It's good to be here. Good afternoon.
I also have the gentleman, Chooks John Rogers. How are you doing?
It's a good Monday, and it's nice to be here. Thank you.
And I have our very own think tank, Dr. Idahosa. Glad to have you.
A very beautiful afternoon, beautiful month of June. And I can see it beautiful on Sandra. And Chooks is looking it too. Promises a great man.
Yes,
Promises. Good afternoon.
Promises to be a great one. Now, let's take a look at the trending stories for today. Nigeria will host the 4th African National Resources and Energy Summit in Abuja from July 14 to 17 to promote sustainable investments and cross-sector collaborations across Africa. Also, Nigeria's shift from petrol to CNG for public transport faces major hurdles despite government backing. Over 1 million vehicles are supposed to be converted to CNG by 2027, and yet we are nowhere to be found. Also, we have Aligo Dangote says Nigerians just pay 55% of what West African countries pay for petrol. And lastly, Gabon will hold raw manganese exports by 2029 to boost local processing and reduce dependence on unprocessed sales. These are some of the top stories we have right here on Souq Business Landscape. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we start off proper. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Souq Business Landscape. Let's start proper with the first story. Nigeria will host 4th African Natural Resources and Energy Investment Summit from July 14 to 17, 2025 in Abuja, aimed at boosting sustainable investment and Africa's natural resources. Now, the summit will unite policymakers, investors, and industry leaders from over 25 countries to explore cross-sector collaborations in mining, energy, agriculture, and finance. This year's theme, harnessing local content for sustainable development, underscores the push for local innovation and value addition, including unveiling of the lithium processing plant expected to create jobs and support industrial growth. Now, according to the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, the summit will spotlight Nigeria's mining reforms and build partnerships on partnership formed during the 2023 G20 Summit. Stakeholders from global institutions like African Development Bank and the International Finance Corporation will be present to support policy development and attract investment. Organizers say that this summit 2025 will put efforts from past editions and promote inclusive green growth across Africa. So let's start off, Omobola, looking at this thing. It's a very nice, we have a lithium plant already ready to start and all that. But let's face it, who stands to gain most from this summit? The multinationals, the government, or the local communities? What do you think?
Everybody, actually. Everybody. And just as you mentioned, with the plans coming on in Nasarawa and Kano State, there's a lot of expectations as regards job creation and also some revenue generation or whatnot for Nigeria as well. And, some level of development to the communities and all. So, and the major thing, the major takeaway from this particular initiative, or the major takeaway from this particular situation is the diplomacy. It's going to strengthen diplomacy, especially climate diplomacy, actually, if we look at it holistically. So I think it's a brilliant one. Nigeria has major stake in Nigeria currently has emissions about 20% or thereabout. So it's very, very important for us to be a part of it. I just don't know if we have the adequate infrastructure for it. Now, I can't wait for us to get into the next story about the CNG conversation. We're going to, tie it together one way or the other. But the truth of the matter is, it's a big win for both the local communities, for the government, for, diplomacy, climate diplomacy. It's a big win. However, do we have the infrastructure to, to actually get it to where it's supposed to actually make us start gaining something from it?
All right, thank you very much. Chooks, we're looking at one of the major focuses, renewable and clean energy. So let's be real. How will this summit contribute to Africa's broader transition into renewable and clean energy? Are we ready for it? Are we ripe? Is Africa actually ripe?
Okay, is it Africa or Nigeria?
No, Africa as a whole.
Africa.
Africa as a whole, are we ready for renewable and
Clean
energy? So now this also begs the question, who's clean energy? In some parlance, they'll say, who clean energy help? Europe and the Americas were built, and Asia was built on dirty energy, and they are still burning it till tomorrow. For industrialization to happen, you need a whole lot of that energy to go down. You need resources to power that energy. You need a whole lot of money to sell. Now, there are several questions I will really want to ask, even if I'm not looking for the answers. If we say clean energy, renewable energy, how much of those particular components, products, is Africa producing in the first place? Which means if we decide to switch at the rate at which the West is telling us to switch, we end up depending on them for the product, for the assembly plant, or what to get in the return is at the last point of it. If we pay for it, we now generate based on the plants that has been installed here. So what is Africa still doing? We are going to the market to buy. We are not bringing products to sell. Africa right now is a raw, as we speak at this moment, is a raw material-based continent. Now, have we added value to our raw materials? That is what I think we should be looking at. And not just following the West toe to toe on green energy or clean energy. So who says we can't do it here? That is my own issue. Now, for this particular summit, it's good, it's nice, but there is an aspect I've not been seeing. I've seen it happen over years. I've not seen participation of community, local people. From Jesse to Olobiri to Port Harcourt to Warri, the people are alienated from what is coming from their ground, and we've seen that playing out again. To what extent are the local people, the indigenous people, part of this particular campaign, part of this particular drive, part of this business of tomorrow?
And if they're not carried along, there's going to be a struggle.
Let me direct that question to you. How will local communities, small to medium enterprise, benefit from the deal struck in the summit?
Well, I think there's a whole lot that needs to be done in the area of capacity building, which is very, very critical to Africa at the moment. We cannot run away from the fact that the technology needed to actually drive the renewable energy sector, we don't have it at the moment, and we shouldn't have to deceive ourselves about that. And we need that technology, and it has to be done. And I think, like what our president has done, has set an ambitious target of 2060 for Africa to be able to get to that threshold of, okay, now we are ready and we are full-blown renewable or clean energy compliant. And until we get to 2060, there's a whole lot that we need to factor in. And when you look at what other people have done, for example, look at the Chinese reverse engineering model that, of course, has transformed the whole of China. It took them about 30 years, including learning a new language. And I think those are part of the conversation that we should have going forward. Yes, it's nice. We have a lithium company established in Nasarawa State, and we're hoping, of course, like Governor Sule said, a second one is in the pipeline. Yeah, but when you look at it, the expertise that is needed in that particular environment, of course, we need to import them. So again, it's another model of capital flight, because what these guys will not be able to take in terms of shipping your raw material and processes and resending, they will take by manpower. And what that will mean is that, of course, if you are having this to do with the Chinese, they have to bring in their expert. And of course, you have to pay them cutthroats. And that, of course, that money is not in the economy, it's moving straight to China. If they are India, it's going straight to India. If they are Nepalese, it's going straight to Lebanese. And this is where we need, as Africans, and especially for our own country, Nigeria, to have a roadmap for what exactly we want. We're talking about solid minerals. We want to have universities, colleges of education, polytechnic, monotechnics, who will have specialized departments that will train competent hands. On Friday or Thursday, I was having a conversation with a chairman of the Public Account Committee, and I was saying, oh, we went to the refinery. What we saw was beautiful. So what's Dangote trying to do? He brought in experts, but he has also recruited so many people from the Nigerian universities so that this expert will train them. That can be because those guys also will need to keep their job. So there's a limit to which they will allow them to know. So what we can do is to create a model where there is
a quota,
a kind of, not just the quota, is having a university system that are not just taught by professional teachers.
The technical colleges.
So we are having a university system that practitioners come to take courses. So you can imagine, for example, the head of engineering in Dangote Refinery is going to the University of Lagos in the Department of Mechanical Engineering to deliver a course. Then he's not talking theory. He's talking practice. In that way, we're able to raise up an army of young people who will be able to fill in this gap. And I think that is the only way we can empower the community. Otherwise, the more we can do is like what we're doing currently now. When we say we are doing local content, you bring in a foreign contractor who's building your road, and the local content is that you have small companies that are helping you pack sand and pack stone. But they are not involved in the building. And that is not local content. Because at the end of the day, those guys can never have expertise to build road. So they're only doing supply to the main builder. So, but what we need is technological transfer. And I think we must also be very strategic in doing that to ensure that technology is moved from one client to the next climb. For me, it's not something we just have to do talking on a seminar table. It's something that we have to sit down as a people and say, what's the roadmap towards clean energy? What's the roadmap towards sustainable energy? How do we mobilize the community to participate in terms of giving them the skill requisite for that industry?
Actually, just to buttress what Doctor has said, aside from bringing tweaking our education system to ensure that we have more, technical know-hows for a lot of people. Theoretical aspect, yes, we have that on lockdown, but the research aspect, the technical aspect, and the practicals as well is very, very important. But aside from that, I think another thing that would also bolster this initiative would be local beneficial, if there isn't anything in it for the locals. So I think orientation as well would also go a long way. So let the people, the community people not just see, oh, they've come again, they've just come exploration and they are going. And all. So maybe if they have that understanding and also even for security purposes as well, if the people, this non-state actors, if they have the understanding that this thing is for our own good, it's not like what has happened in the past where, there's a lot of climate issue in the Niger Delta due to, exploration of oil. So with lithium now becoming almost the next gold for us now in this country, I think it's just very important that there's proper orientation so that if the locals understand that there is a lot of benefits on this, for us, for the country, for the community, children as well. I think it will also go a long way for this particular initiative, Nigeria hosting Africa's green energy.
But you see, before lithium can become the next oil, our steel rolling mill must have to work. Oh, yes. Because lithium is just one aspect.
I'm trying to be optimistic.
Lithium is just one
aspect. I'm focusing on lithium because that's what we're talking about right now.
But because we also need, for example, if you're looking for lithium battery for solar energy, take for example. Now, the plates, the solar plates, have to be produced here, not imported. Because in elementary economics, they call it composite demand. So what it is that if you're buying battery, you're also buying the panels. So it's not just about the panel alone, about the lithium battery alone. It's also the fact that even the plastic that, of course, you are going to use the lithium on has to also be made here. And we have all these resources here. And I think that when people talk about constitutional conference, I think that what Nigeria should be talking about at the moment is the Natural Resources Conference, where we'll have to identify the things that we really have and then emphasize the economy. The more that we speak to the politics, because you can imagine that all the value chain of the things that we need is here. In short, my friend busted me some years ago and he said to me, we were in a presentation and your people came and they sat in the room in Abu Dhabi and they were telling what was in the land in commercial quantity. And the way he painted it to me was that about 8 of the 12 precious stones that the Bible recorded in the book of Revelation, 8 of them, we have them in commercial quantity in Nigeria.
More than 8. I think we're about 14. But the point is, I think
I'm talking about the one that is in heaven. The one that the Bible talks about that is in heaven. We have 8 of it in commercial quantity in Nigeria.
So, but that brings me to policy uncertainty. Sorry about that, Mr. That brings me to policy uncertainty, which is another major issue here now. Because policies come out and, implementation is a huge problem. Just 2 weeks ago, we were celebrating the fact that, they said Nigeria first, the Nigeria first policy, and how, we need to, everything we need to do now, as long as we have local suppliers, let's not go outside. So if we have, policy certainty that, we have policies on ground, we're going to follow these policies through, I don't think we'll have that problem.
And government continuum also.
Why will pray and seek not having issues? Let me talk a bit. Let me talk a bit
in addition to what you're about to talk about, do you think we should be focusing on lithium at this point, or what other mineral resources?
We should focus on all.
That's what's
all of it.
That's what the streets are saying now is lithium. So maybe we should, because you can't tell me that the minister who is in charge of resources is not aware of all the resources that it is not possible that the government is not aware that we have gold, we have sapphire, we have plenty.
See,
so
it's
you can't tell me that they don't know.
They know we have.
This is the real issue. You mentioned something that's very fundamental. And I was telling my friend recently, immediately we hear Nigerian first policy, the thing that comes to mind is we must be consuming things made in Nigeria. And I think that is obviously very wrong. Because if we don't own Nigerian first in our mind, then all of us have to first and foremost think Nigeria.
Okay, that's the first thing Nigeria in the mind.
So think Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
I am not the orientation agent, the national orientation agent.
No, but I agree with you. I agree with you because at the end of the day, because I was saying my friend say, you see, it's in terms of procurement. It's beyond procurement.
So put Nigeria first.
Yes, if all of us, it's beyond procurement. If all of us can put Nigeria first, and we all assume that Nigeria is a project that must succeed in our hand, every other thing we just follow.
Okay.
But
so
can
we put Nigeria first this way?
I say Nigeria first, and the elites and the people at the top.
Who are the elite?
The elites.
You are the elite.
I don't know about that. Okay. I really don't know.
Doctor is the elite.
I know doctor is the elite.
Okay.
But me being the elite is highly debatable. But what I'm saying is,
don't worry, we can compute that on the website.
No, but if we say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
But somebody has
at the end of the day, somebody.
She's saying what about the elite?
Should push.
No.
And then we go. No, because you can't. We currently at this time now, the people down there are struggling with purchasing power at this time now. So what the truth, let's speak to the reality of it. There's multidimensional poverty in the land as we are speaking right now. So the people down there, they're already struggling as it is. So if we're going to achieve that thing, first off, the National Orientation Agency needs to come forward. The Minister of Information needs to come forward, do their thing. And then aside from that, the people at the top who purchase the thing in large quantities, that's the elites now, purchase in large quantities, and even our political class as well, they should also let those people down there see that our president is using a CNG car. Let them see that the governor is using a CNG car produced here in this country. Let them see that the legislators are using a CNG car produced in this country.
Yeah, but we are still reducing it to product, and that is what I don't want us to reduce.
No, it's not just product.
It's beyond
an example.
It is beyond what we drive.
The raw materials.
It's beyond what we eat. It's beyond what we wear. So what is important is that we say first and foremost that this is Nigeria and we have to own it. And I think that's where the conversation about Nigerian first needs to start. That if all of us, take for example, I'm not even thinking about what people are going to do. I'm also talking about what require money. And I'm talking about just something like how do we protect our national assets, for example. That the man who is working as a motorbiker in Lagos understand that if in the night he goes out and use a sledgehammer to break down road divider, that's actually not doing anybody any good. Now, if that man who is selling iron in the street of Abuja will understand that those iron that they use to cover manhole belong to all of us and he doesn't need to steal it. Now that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, let's also add if the guy in Abuja knows that if he takes government money that belongs to all of us,
yes,
he doesn't need to steal it.
Right.
That is Nigeria first.
That's Nigeria first. So we have to put Nigeria first. And then of course say, how are we going to get a Nigeria that is working for all of us? That we're not just going to be blaming somebody, that all of us begin to take...
blame. Let all of us do it together.
All of us take responsibility for making Nigerian work. So we're not going to be pointing hands at people, but we're saying in our own...
You just pointed hand at driving bike.
No, I'm not even talking to you right now. I'm talking to people at the Aso Rock. So we don't need to blame anybody, but we're saying that we are collectively, as a people, responsible for what we are at the moment. And then that we're making up our mind to shift, to say we're going to put Nigeria first before our tribe, Nigeria first before our community, Nigeria first, just like you say, America first, before our families.
Before our pocket.
Hold on. Yeah, let me bring us back. Let me bring us back to this topic. Nigeria first. Back to what Doctor was saying. Honestly, I like using that word. Technology is never given free. Never, ever given free. And if we want it, we have to be deliberate about it. It's either we buy it, we negotiate for it, or we steal it. There are no two ways about it. Yes, I'll keep saying it.
We can borrow it.
You said, you can't borrow it.
How do we steal it?
There are a whole lot of rights.
You can borrow it, you can beg.
Just the way China took up by sending people there, and whether you call it espionage or whatever, or the companies that were there and they nationalized it. However, so for us here, we have to have that policy as a people to go after it and pursue it and get our people doing it. That's the only way we can have that.
No, but what Doctor said as regards Nigeria first in your mind still comes to play. No, because if you would send somebody out there now to go and get this technology and they will jump out from there.
Good.
So
let's leave that part. If we keep looking at the negative.
No. Patriotism is very key. You should know that, I am coming here to acquire what I need to acquire for national development.
Okay. Now let's see, because you know why I'm buttressing your point. See, take for example China. They were speaking multiplicity of language. That 30 years, they have to teach one uniform language. So the current Chinese
that won't work here.
Language, it will work.
It will work.
If it work in China, it can work anywhere.
We are not Chinese.
Yeah, Yeah, but so now you look at what
Do you know what Chamama had to go through for him to actually achieve that? There's a lot of negatives.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. But what you see today,
from that though,
what we're seeing today in China was a strategy put in place by its national leader to push an agenda. Let's even not say we are going to speak one language. But what I'm saying is that how do we create the buy-in that the ordinary man on the streets and the man who is the president of the Nigerian Senate or the man who is the president of Nigeria understand, first and foremost, not just in paper, but in his mind, that what matters is Nigeria.
Can I answer that? Leadership.
Yeah, but I understand all the point we talk about leadership, because when we still talk leadership, we still go back to say, oh, what it is that that kind of an orientation, we need that conversation started. Because until we'll have that conversation, it will still go back to what Obafemi Awolowo was said, that concept, Nigeria is a mere geographical expression. Because it does not exist in the mind and in the heart of people. Now, if it does not exist, there is no policy that you can put.
Come back to this?
No. It is what we are talking about. If it does not exist in our heart, there is no policy that you are going to write. There's no invention that you are going to create that will solve our problem. Because at the end of the day, because I have used this analogy severally, PPAK, God bless his soul, had a thesis. He called it the thesis of the two publics, where he advocated that until we transform or transmit our loyalty at the primordial setting to the civil society, nothing will work in Nigeria. And I believe him 100%, because at the primordial setting in my village, you can't go and steal the money we contribute to.
Thank you very much.
Can I say this on the green energy? Now, we've seen the rundown for this particular summit, but there's still something missing, except if we are not getting, if we've not gotten there. Now, Ministry of Agri is involved, Water Resources is involved, several other ministries. We want to see that synergy, not just solid mineral do their thing. Then tomorrow agriculture will come do their thing. That way we just keep having one meeting after the other, one summit after the other. But if we have that synergy, we know that, okay, we are working towards a common goal. It's easier to achieve that way.
Thank you very much. Until we start to exhibit true patriotism, that is rebranding our minds to think Nigeria first, psychologically, mentally, that way we'll be able to move forward. And like Omobola said, it also starts from the top. The elites, the people at the top, our leaders, they need to start showing this example. So we'll go on a short break. We still have a whole lot more coming up on Souq Business Landscape. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Souq Business Landscape. So we'll take the second story. Nigeria will host the 4th African Natural Resources and Energy Summit. I beg your pardon. Let's take the second story. Here it says, Nigeria's plan to move public transport from petrol to compressed natural gas, that CNG, is facing serious challenges despite strong support from the federal government. Now, the project launched. The launch is supposed to help Nigerians save money for fuel and reduce pollution. It is now struggling due to gas supply shortages, long refill queues, and a lack of proper infrastructure across the country. Now, although the government removed tax on CNG equipment, paid for 1 million vehicles conversion, and ordered government offices to use CNG vehicles, the number of working refill stations is very low. Now, out of 45 stations nationwide, only a few are reliable. In many states, there are no refill stations at all. And as a result, drivers who converted their vehicles to CNG are returning to petrol stations because they spend hours and even days just to buy gas. Now, experts and transport workers say that if government does not fix the supply and licensing issues soon, CNG project may fail completely. So let me start off with Omobola here. 1 million vehicles by 2027 converted to CNG. How does the government at this point, because we have about not even up to 50 stations, and not probably 45, and not all of them are working. How will we be able to achieve this by 2027? It's just 2 years from here. Is it possible? Do you see it coming into fruition?
I want to say something, but I feel like Doctor will come for me.
Go ahead, it's a free nation.
I have your back.
It's a free nation.
Go for it.
I want to say something, but I feel Doctor will come for me. You know, when we say that we can be very over-ambitious in this country, it's always like, oh, you're not positive, or you're
that's
not...
not a crime.
And it's not a crime to be over-ambitious. It is not. But, you know, there are just some certain things that you just need to work with the facts and the reality on ground. So first off, CNG in Nigeria with our climate was already a problem, was already an issue. That was already an issue with the climate that we have, because then you see, you know, explosions here and there, the heat, you know, in the country. So our climate was already an issue. That's one. Then there was infrastructural problem. There were infrastructural issues as well, where you would, you know, conversion kits. How many conversion kits? How many people are driving cars in the country? How many conversion kits? What are we talking about? So there was infrastructural problem as well. Availability as well of, you know, where you can actually get your refill. That was another issue. Then policy again. You said that all the ministries, departments, and agencies should work with CNG. How many of them actually followed through on that particular policy? How many, if you go to ministries, departments, and agencies today now and say, okay, how many of you are actually, you know, using CNG powered vehicles? And aside from that, even if you're going to give that directive, I don't know, maybe a gas filling plant, or station, should be at all these ministries, departments, and agencies. If you're going to, you know, tell them, I won't say order them, or if you're going to tell them that, oh, every one of you needs to do this, but did you make it easy for them? All right, did you make that transition easy for them? And then we've not finished talking about CNG and the issues that came with it, the challenges that came with it. We are already, last week or 2 weeks ago, when did we start the electric vehicle conversation? So I feel like, you know, we're just really excited about things, and then once we just get in there, and then we're just, you know, we just run out. So there were already issues on the ground, but I really don't want to sound pessimistic, but I just, right from time, I already saw the issues that were on ground, and there were no clear-cut plans on how to solve those issues or how to solve those challenges before we went, you know, headlong into it.
Chooks, I need to ask you a very honest question. Let's be honest with ourselves. Is there any
hold on. Can't you just let me know?
Does he have a stake in this CNG thing?
No. Is there any data showing that CNG, compressed natural gas, actually reduces daily fuel expense for danfo or the keke after conversion?
Cost-wise, yes.
No, yeah, it does, actually.
Cost-wise.
Cost-wise, yes. Cost-wise. But logistics, I don't know about
Cost-wise, 100% yes. Now, when this policy was formulated, normally good intentions.
Yes.
Extremely good intentions, but that is the same thing that covers a whole lot of graveyards. Very good intentions. But the planning and the follow-through is the issue. 45 stations, it's not possible. There are 36 states in this country.
That's probably one.
45 stations, though, but about 10 or thereabout are functional.
Yes.
Let's look at the 45 stations itself.
In all, actually.
If the 45 stations were functional day one, they will still not be enough.
Enough, yes.
Now, we are trying to project, okay, now, how did we even get to CNG in the first place? Let's always follow through and ask ourselves these questions. We came to CNG because subsidy was removed. We're now looking for solutions after removal of subsidy. That was a big mistake.
That shouldn't have been the reason.
You plan ahead, make solutions. then people will now fall back to your solutions that have been created. Now, these particular solutions, mind you, a whole lot of things were competing with it. There is government money to be spent. Other ministries are also shouting and looking for money. Then CNG came. As we speak right now, CNG has not been seen the G. Not much of the N.
Dangote is at a point said he was going to into it, invest in.
Can we tell ourselves some basic truth? This country doesn't belong to Dangote. Now let's
I don't want to say that, but I mean,
let's get to this. We are an oil producing country.
Okay.
We are trying to
Why are you
sell
whispering?
crude because
Everybody knows where.
let it get into our heads.
so why are you whispering?
We are trying to sell crude.
Crude.
We are trying to be the best refiners of this crude in the long run and sell this refined crude
Out.
Why are we trying to shoot ourselves in the foot?
No, but we have gas too.
As
There's
business,
gas flaring happening in different parts of the country.
for business sake.
Okay. But we have
Why
gas.
are we trying to shoot ourselves?
Well,
Now we are looking at, you talked about electric vehicle. If the world goes electric in 2030, what happens to our crude? Do we think?
We will drink it.
Okay.
There are so many things that we can use fuel for aside from cars.
Okay.
There's
But who consumes the most?
There are so many things that we
consumes the
can
most?
use fuel for aside from
Who
cars.
consumes the most?
The point is we just put the cart before the horse in this CNG situation. That's just what happened. We put the cart before the horse. It was just the same way, it was blurted out. Subsidy is gone. And the things that were meant to have been put in place before that announcement, had not yet been perfected. That's why we had the issue. The issue was not that they removed subsidy. The issue was, what are the cushioning initiatives that had been put in place or that had been planned out. So it's just the same way with the CNG conversation as well. What are the things that, the challenges that were outlined, have they been sorted? What have we been doing? Okay, 2 years after CNG now, and they've still not increased from that 45. So it's not like it was a work in progress. Do you understand? It's been 45, it's still 45, and there's not really anything that we can see on the ground that is showing that. So I'm still going back to policy uncertainty. When we put out policies, we follow through. And,
Who should follow through?
The people that put out the policy.
Now, this is where we're also getting it wrong. Now, if we keep looking at the people that put out the policy, things will not work. It's my responsibility, it's your responsibility. To also
Nigeria.
If you put out a policy and told me, and encouraged me rather, about the CNG, the president.
And that person will need to ask,
CNG
how many people
initiative.
has invested in CNG aside the government?
If you put, because the government has not made it look attractive enough. Yeah.
Are you sure?
I think,
Doctor, let me add the question to this. Let me add the question to this.
Of course, yes. So who has
Are
invested in
private
it?
players being incentivized to invest in CNG infrastructure?
Thank you.
And if not so, rather, why?
Please don't mention Dangote.
I have a problem. And my problem is so massive. Because there's a way that our orientation has been wired. That we feel that whatever happens, that if government don't do things, things can get done. And I don't think there's any country in the world that is run that way. Now, will you say people have been incentivized? Yes. Who are people not patronizing? See, this is only a country in the whole wide world where people get into a venture without due diligence. No research, no data.
Including the government.
I was going to ask that.
No follow-up. And then we will just be operating. And then we're expecting that someday we will succeed.
Yes.
I took a cab from Idahosa that day, and I was speaking with a woman, and I said, why are you buying petrol and not CNG? And she told me, I said, I have two problems. The first problem is that, number one, this is a used car. It's a 28 model. I'm afraid to convert it, to invest that initial 800 or about 1,000 to convert first before I start to buy the CNG at 230 or 250, depending on where you are buying per liter. So, how do I get that initial bulk money to do the conversion? It's a problem. Because the people that we're expecting that are going to be CNG users are the low-end people. And naturally, they don't have money to do the conversion to even begin to experience it. And those who are high-end can buy fuel at 1 million naira per liter, and they really don't care, as long as it serves them better. So,
and the government subsidized CNG conversion kit benefited the high end.
So what you see...
You want to talk about that?
Wait, no, but let's listen to Doctor. Doctor is going somewhere.
To happen.
We have not been able in the last 2 years to really see, okay, why are people not investing in that sector? Because it's not supposed to be a government project. It's individuals who are putting money in that sector. You remember days where in this country, in the early 2000s, late 1990s, early 2000 to middle 2000, and the in-business was to set up a petrol station. It was not government setting these petrol stations. It were individuals who were putting these petrol stations in place. Now, if you go to Europe today, people are moving away from building petrol stations to building rechargeable stations.
Yeah.
It's not government that is putting the money. It's individual business people who sees opportunity in that place.
Yeah, but you also said just earlier on what is the government doing?
No, I'm not talking government. It shouldn't be government most of the time.
It shouldn't be.
Government business is not to do business.
I understand
what government has simply done was...
However, government brought the initiative, which is laudable. We appreciate that. However, there were challenges along the way. About three or so explosions in different parts of the country. But there was nothing to handle that situation and turn it around. There was nothing really done.
The explosions were not explosions because
people were driving
substandard.
Yeah, something happened.
No. See, that's the thing. You have that information. People out there don't have that information, and we live in an internet age where everybody has something to say about everything. People turned that thing around and they turned it into something else. And then before you knew, there was trust deficit.
Yeah,
what was done to handle
No. You see, the problem here, in short, that's one of the reasons why we're trying to set up what we call the spokespersons training for government media people. Because one, they're not communicating enough. Number two, they're not communicating rightly.
Thank you.
And therefore, we're not able to actually manage change as they ought to be managed. And that is why, at the end of the day, what you find is that people continue to see that, look, even if I need to eat food in my house, you see, government has a way, or policy has a way of creating that. What people need to understand is that once a thing is happening, we are able to see, okay, what's the benefit to me? Why do I need to invest in that sector? So why is investment not coming in? And this conversation we need to have with operators. Because, like I said, a lot of people who cannot afford conversion, because it requires bulk money.
Yes.
To be able to...
But do you know why it requires the bulk money?
To convert.
Because it's not local manufactured. It's not
that's what we're saying, because of course the technology is not local.
Yes.
So what we're doing is the government said, okay, we have subsidized some people, we have made some funds available for people who want to play in that sector. And if we have this information, a lot of people will be able to understand what advantage that is conveying. And I think government is not talking enough. That's the point I was trying to make. And if we are talking enough, we'll be able to manage this transition. Although, as a person, I don't even believe in the CNG.
That's another debate for
I don't believe in it.
As national business model, no.
I don't believe, and I don't think it serves us right. I just feel that the whole clean energy conversation is just another ploy to really rip off Africa. And in my mind, Africa must be strategic enough to understand this reality.
We don't have the same climate. I don't know why we're having the same conversation. We shouldn't be having the same conversation.
So I as a person, I don't.
That's why I said from the beginning, I already saw this is going to be a big problem from the get-go. Do you understand? This is going to be a big problem. And then you have the CNGI. That's the President CNG Initiative. Okay. So who are the people that were on that, board, that team?
Government people.
So that's the thing. And were there petrochemical engineers on that team?
What are you going to do with them?
People that have the technical know-how or how gas works.
Since when did we start? Let's focus.
No, it's the same way. It's the same way when they were having the tax committee, and then we had, Professor Yedele come out. People question his portfolio. It's the same way when, we were having Cardoso head the CBN. People question his portfolio.
When it gets to a lot of government spending,
you need to question the portfolio.
Big money, as against qualifications.
Should we accept it as a norm?
That is wrong, 100%
wrong. So that's what I'm saying. So back to what Doctor said.
We don't need to ask. We call them out.
Look at,
I don't know if you understand.
Right from the get-go, this whole climate change conversation, I think it shouldn't be what is good for good. It shouldn't be, because we don't have the same climate to begin with. The terrain in Africa and in the West is totally different. So we should not be having the same conversation. And then aside from that, for this particular CNG, is always going to be a problem, because at the end of the day, there's always going to be that supply-demand issue.
I was even thinking that most African countries, we're going to line up with Donald Trump talking about clean coal. Yeah. Because that's a conversation in America as we speak. America said that the green energy debate was a scam. The president came out to say Europe is scamming the whole world, and they are not going to fall to that scam. And so they say going back to cleanest coal. So they want a clean coal, which they have in abundance that they can use.
Hope you know he's saying that based on what it's profitable to his
country.
That is what I'm saying.
But we are following hook, like sinker. What is not coming from us?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that seems to favor us a little bit. We have a lot of coal in Enugu.
All the way to Kogi.
Now, we could clean the coal and use it. We could clean the coal and start to use it. And see, that's what I'm saying. We need to understand. See, we have a big boy in the room now who is saying that, look, this whole clean energy debate is a scam to run the entire world, and we are not going to fall to it. Now we're going back to what nature has given to us, and that's what we're going to use. We're going to use our petrol, our crude, we're going to use our coal. We're not going to listen to what Europe is saying or what they are selling. Now, Africa should think like Donald Trump. And that's the point I'm making. That we're not going to invest or carry our hard-earned money, rather than investing in developing what we have, and then we're buying a technology that is alien to us. So that is in itself putting us at a competitive disadvantage. So where do we need to have an advantage? And I think that's why I said when I started, I like the president saying that, look, we are not in a hurry. We should tread softly.
Which president?
And set our president. Okay. And set the 2060 target.
Okay, then why we are treading this target, can we also tell African leaders and everyone represent Africa, please stop collecting these monies?
Okay. There's not enough money to collect right now.
They are still collecting. And when you collect, you sign.
They will collect
and you follow.
And they will continue to collect it.
All right.
Lagos Calabar Highway has been commissioned, so they will continue to collect it.
Very, very impactful discussion. So we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll take one more story. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to Souq Business Landscape. Let's take the last story. President of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has revealed that Nigerians currently pay only 55% of what other West African nations pay for petrol. During a facility tour led by Economic Community of West African States Commission President Dr. Omar Touray, Dangote said petrol from his refinery sells between 815 naira and 820 naira per liter, compared to about 1,600 naira in neighboring countries. Now, he explained that local refineries has significantly reduced fuel prices and production costs in key sectors like agriculture, mining, and manufacturing. Citing diesel price drops from 1,700 naira to 1,100 naira, he said the refinery is helping to strengthen Nigeria's economy, reduce import dependence, and promote intra-African trade. Let me start with Chooks. Dangote seems to be a benefactor or messiah.
Right now, I think we should just cancel Father Christmas and use Dangote's name.
We should wake up every
55%.
morning and pray for Dangote at this point now.
Okay. I also want to know the context
Data.
that particular statement he made came from. Now, he is refining. Right now, he's a major refiner in Africa, one of the major in the world, not just Africa. Thanks to Dangote Refinery, yes. Thanks to Dangote Refinery, several refineries in Europe are shutting down.
The Aramco joke to you, but please carry on.
But that is what it is.
It's okay.
Good. Thanks to that particular refinery. So now, as a major refiner, am I expecting to hear that from him? Because right now, I won't say he's a monopoly, but he is the monopoly. The competitors are not there yet. NNPC is not, what's it called? Warri, Koshishe. Port Harcourt, they've told us again that they want money.
They've given plenty of people licenses.
The ones they took, we've not seen it.
It's okay.
Which other? Kaduna, you don't die since. Right now, if Dangote is saying we have 55%, it now begs us to start asking some questions. This is where I always say crime and punishment. In the era of subsidy, large chunk of unaccounted tankers were crossing our borders to our neighboring brothers. Who were those that were doing it? The same people that were importing this fuel. So if we've been servicing them all this while, definitely it will be more expensive than what we are getting. But at the price at which it is right now, is that what Nigerians want? That's where my own thought is. I'm looking forward to when we will have Bill come on board. When we'll have the other Smith guy really start producing and have the government own refineries. Either they work or they sell them. Now let me now stand and see what Dangote is going to say when these other people are all there. That we will now know, okay, good. He is saying what his company or his refinery is doing. But right now, he's the only one. So whatever he says, we'll watch.
Omobola, so many refineries still not operating.
Okay.
You just said it right now that licenses have been given out and nothing yet.
Licenses.
So could this actually lead to a monopoly of fuel refinery and distribution in Nigeria if competitors can't keep up? Does that mean that Dangote will be the one dictating?
First off, it is very, very unfortunate that this burden is on Dangote. It is actually very unfortunate because for a very, very, very long time, NNPC was the alpha and omega in the oil and gas sector. There were licenses, yes, but what's going on? There are modular refineries, yes, but you can't compare, to a major plant, all right? So there are, small modular refineries here and there, but
they are not refining.
So whether they were blending or they were mixing, they were doing something. The point is, for a very long time, we looked to NNPC for this, and for a very long time, before they changed the name to NNPCL, I've not really seen that change, only name change, really. I've really seen that. But before then, it was a government company. And there is nothing wrong with government being in business. Aramco is operated by the government, and it's successful. All right? So there is nothing wrong if government is in business. There are government-owned enterprises in different parts of the country. But what NNPC did during that time is still in wherever it is. So if Dangote now looks like he's the only one that seems to be a messiah that came on board, it shouldn't have been. When there was the issue and the back and forth as regards, they're trying to monopolize, Dangote was asking for crude for Naira and so many other things, all NNPC had to do was refine. They have the refineries. Why are they not functional? Sometime last year, December or thereabout, they told us that they were mechanically ready. I don't know what that meant and what it is meaning now.
They are chemically ready now.
Now, chemically, okay, it's all right. Because, you know, sometime last year I said, oh, we're mechanically ready, and I didn't get that. That's NNPC. What happened? There's the Kaduna, there's the Warri, there's the Port Harcourt. Why do we not have these functional? We have spent so much on, you know, turnaround maintenance, billions and running into trillions. A lot of money has been expended on those refineries. And a lot of money is still being expended because there are people working there. Apparently, we are paying salaries for moribund refineries. We're paying salaries for people working in moribund refineries. So money is still being spent. And then we also have modular refineries. There are different modular refineries in different parts of the country. What's the government doing? What are the regulators? What are the regulators doing about those modular refineries? Rather than going around and shutting them down, what can be done to turn it around for good for the country, rather than going around shutting them down? And the people who have licenses, you have license. Why haven't you kick-started? Why haven't you started? What can the government do? I know an estate somewhere in Muwe or Fada, Shimawa, that if you buy land there and you don't build in 1 year, they will collect it back. It's in the contract.
Government contract?
No, it's not government.
Estate policy.
It's the policy of the developer, the estate, yeah, the owner of the land.
If you don't build, they will retrieve.
Yes.
And give you your money.
They are not.
They'll give you back your money, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Because we are trying to develop an area. Do you understand? So if you just come here and just buy land, and the land is just, no. So it's in the contract that if this is not done, a certain amount will be refunded back to you, not all. You are given a stipulated time. So all these people that have license, it was when they brought dirty oil to the country that I knew that we had 23 licenses, apparently.
23?
23 people have been given license. That's what we're told.
Doc, please, do you have one?
Who are the people? Who are they? Names were not mentioned, though.
23 licenses.
But it was when dirty oil, I'm sure we all remember that, some 2 years or so ago, when dirty oil came into the country, and you know it caused a pandemonium and everything. And then say, oh, and everybody looked to NNPC, but you are the sole importer of, so it must be from you. That's where NNPC said, no, it's not also. There are 23 other people that have license to import.
Okay, talking about import licenses, not refinery.
Not refining. But it's in the.
Well, there are more than 23 licenses to
As
import.
then that's what NNPC gave out. That there are 23 other.
I don't think on this conversation is actually whether we have refining capacity.
No. The point is there are people that have that have been enabled do this. Why are they not? Because he was making it seem like Dangote wants to monopolize the market.
No, I'm not saying he wants to monopolize. I'm not saying that as we speak right now, it's a monopoly.
It's not even the case of monopolizing. You see, there are a lot of things that we need to take away from this argument. What Dangote is saying, that Nigeria is still underselling petrol.
Underselling?
Yes.
Underselling.
Now, what we currently sell is underselling petrol if we compare with other West African countries.
Why are we not comparing standard of living?
Wait now, just wait. I'm not putting brief. I'm only redirecting the conversation so that we can.
His question was direct. His question his question, doctor, was as regards the fact that why are we looking to Dangote for all of it? That's the answer. So my answer was to his question. But if you're going to go through the conversation, it's different.
Which is the conversation which
if that's what we're going to do.
Says that petrol pump price in Nigeria is cheaper compared to other
it's over $1.
sub-African countries. And those that are close to us is, for example, Niger, where, of course, it's about 84 cents, in Chad, about 94 cents. Then, of course, you go to Benin Republic, it's $1.03.
But they are buying from here.
But we are an oil-producing country.
You go to Ghana, it's like 1.34, and Cote d'Ivoire 1.4, 1.5. Now, you look at all that, and so it makes plausible argument that, look, really, in West Africa, Nigeria is selling cheaper. So, but I think the right question for us to ask is, globally, is Nigeria the cheapest petrol market?
No.
Can we look at Venezuela that is selling petrol for less than 1 cent? Can we look at Oman? Can we look at Iran?
Libya.
Can we look at Libya? Can we look at Algeria? Can we look at Egypt?
But when we look at this,
can we look at Saudi Arabia?
Doc. Why are we going global?
No. It's important because
okay.
You see what this really means. You say, okay, oh, we're selling, and the price we're selling is like it's too cheap. And what does that argument brings to you is the fact that, look, you see, we're not making too much money from you.
That was how I was asking.
If we were to make more money,
said what he said.
If we were to make more money, we would have gone to sell in Benin Republic and get more money. So it's like you're doing us some good. But so that's what I'm also saying. That can we also compare with other people who, beyond West Africa, who don't have oil wells, that are also selling petrol lesser than Nigeria? Are there countries like that? And I'm saying that you can name up to 14 countries globally who sell petrol far cheaper than what we currently sell in Nigeria. So it may not be completely, it may not be completely right that there are no values in the system. So which means we need to actually see what's the cost of input and what is coming in. Nigeria sells at 7.7 cents per liter. Now, in Saudi Arabia, it is 6.4 cents. So, 0.64 cents of a liter of petrol. So, can we compare apple to apple?
No, we cannot.
And not orange to apple? Because in this case, we're trying to compare apple with orange.
No. We can't. No, doctor, we can't. You know, if we're talking about, if we're going to go input and output now, that's far. Far. Yes, because, yes, sir. Because if you look at it this way, oil producing country, you just mentioned, what's the country?
Venezuela?
No.
Oman,
no, the last one.
Iran,
Iraq,
Saudi Arabia.
They are all oil producing countries.
No, the last one that you just mentioned now. The last one you just mentioned now. That if you look at OPEC, they had to drop the quota for Saudi Arabia because it was producing too much. It was giving out too much. And they were making a quota. According to the quota.
Everybody they agree.
The quota that was given to them, they were given more than that. And thereby, it wasn't allowing for some of the smaller countries to make as much money as they ought to have.
No. What is OPEC?
So if we can't
understand this.
And then if you now look, and then
I'm not looking about crude. We're talking about pump price of petrol.
It still boils down to it.
No.
It still boils down to it.
No. There are two different arguments.
It still boils down to it. Because
there are two different arguments.
Why is Nigeria paying that much?
No, what I'm
we
saying.
Have the raw?
No, they're not even listening to me. That's the problem.
I'm listening to you.
No. What's the?
I'm just telling you that shouldn't be where we should be setting our focus.
If you don't listen, you will not get the argument clear. This is the point I'm making to you. What is Dangote saying? Dangote is saying petrol in Nigeria from his factory is costing 8 naira 15 kobo. 815 naira.
Why?
You just wait now. This is it. When you don't listen, you cannot get the meat of the argument. He says in Benin Republic, which is your next door neighbor, that the cost of petrol per liter is about 1,800 or 1,900. In Ghana, the pump price is about 2,000 per liter. That Nigeria is still fortunate to be buying petrol at 8 naira 15 kobo. 815 naira.
That was his submission.
That is his submission. So the point I'm making is that
something that belongs to me.
So it doesn't belong to you.
I'm with you.
Just wait.
I'm with you.
Just wait. So, but what argument I'm making is that will Dangote also extend the argument to other people who we are in the same league with, like Algeria, where the pump price of petrol, as we speak, if we were to value it in Nigerian naira, is less than 600 naira. Or Egypt.
Or Libya, where it's less than 400 naira.
Or Oman.
Yes.
Or Iraq. Or Iran. Or Venezuela. Where we have petrol selling less, in Venezuela is still less than 100 naira per liter. If we're to value it in our currency.
But there's a whole lot of subsidy there.
Now that's what I'm talking about. So when you're saying, it's not as if that, oh, petrol is extremely too cheap in Nigeria. That's not what it means. So we're also seeing that we're having some arrangement that comes in from government part in terms of how to ensure that we can cushion the effect of all these conversations.
Is it our own government or their own government?
Yeah,
the government
see,
will give as
see,
example.
What this argument eventually leads to is to see how do we democratize the pricing space. But we have to also look at the market condition in which these distributions happen. And it is until we get to that point that we can actually say, are we really underselling petrol?
Okay, whether we
or people are still actually asking for the price of petrol to come down.
Yes, we are. Okay, yes, I am.
Chuks, let me add this question to you.
So now,
Chuks. Let me add this question to you.
Okay.
Now, to what tangible benefits is this price reduction in terms of sectors like transportation, food, and manufacturing?
There are a whole lot. But first, let's clarify ourselves in this. Dangote is a businessman. The entire refinery and everything is personal business, and they are established to make profit. So he will defend his profit to heaven and back. Now, I am looking forward. I will say it again. I'm praying that other refineries will come upstream. That way, we will see if the price is going to come down or not. Now, what is the tangible effect of the price?
Cost.
Everything. Transportation is, logistics and transportation is key.
Okay.
Manufacturing, production-wise. Energy, that is even where we are having a whole lot of issues. We'd have band A, band B. Now, I don't know if they're going to band X. I moved into an estate, and I observed that everybody was soundproofing the houses. I didn't really understand until around 6 o'clock.
Generator noise.
That was when I knew why. Oh, when you rent here, you soundproof. Then, what is it called? The president came on board and removed subsidy. And gradually, people were not soundproofing anymore because nobody was buying fuel. But I don't know if this tells you that affects business on all levels. What you pay for transportation, you add to the finished product. What you pay to generate power, you add to the finished product. What you pay to move your farm produce from the farm,
you add to the finished product.
What
you pay to refine the oil, you add to the finished product.
What you pay to generate power to put the children in school, the school add to the school fee. So it affects everything.
All right, so doctor, let me ask you this question. How sustainable is this current price cut, given the fact that there's a naira for crude deal, and also if Dangote stands to gain more selling outside, why not?
Yeah, but I think we must understand what the market economy means as a country. Market economy means that what determines the price of a product is your inputs. And so if you buy inputs at very exorbitant cost, of course, the output price will be high. Right. Now, why we're enjoying the 815 is because the price of crude has gone down a little bit in the international market. So what price is selling today is, so if tomorrow, by chance, crude move up to 70, 74, 80, or 100, then of course we must be ready to pay more for the pump.
I don't know about that, doctor, because
you don't need to know about it, but that is what the reality is.
But it's me that doesn't know now. Let me not know. I decided not to know, because if we look at this, Olumide, the truth is that sector. Is this sector, is it regulated or deregulated? Because that's also another
thing. It's
deregulated, as we are told.
Completely deregulated.
On paper.
Exactly.
We are told.
That's what
completely deregulated.
Completely
100% deregulated.
Is it completely deregulated? 100%. I do not think so. It is not.
If it's completely deregulated, even Dangote himself was shouting.
Dangote has been speaking, but so that is what is going to determine if it's sustainable long term or not. Because they said it's market forces. Mr. Farouk, NMDPRA said it's market forces.
Oh, yes.
It's market forces. But then at the same time, you still have the fact that NNPCL, NMDPRA, and Pengasan and Moman, all of them come together and they still have one or two inputs on this particular situation. So it is not deregulated, completely deregulated, and it is going to have its effect on the long term.
What do you understand by deregulation? Omobola, look at it. This is what is happening in that sector. Government has given free hand to people who want to build refinery to build, and those who want to import to import. And government is not going to determine how much you sell your petrol. You determine how you sell your petrol.
It took a fight for Dangote to start selling his petrol.
How long did you
before you even release the price? Now, what happened is that people are importing petrol as we speak. 14,000 tons of petrol.
Including NNPCL.
So people are importing. People have license to import. So what government says they will not do is to close importation so that they allow Dangote to produce. So what that means is that there are free entry and free exit into the oil market. And that is what it means to be fully deregulated.
No, sir, that is not what it means to be fully deregulated.
So can you tell us what you understand by deregulation?
Because the regulators still have a say one way, and we also...
What say?
Because we saw it all play out during, when Dangote was having that back and forth with NNPCL. We saw...
No, don't misinform the public, please.
I'm not misinforming the public.
No. Do NNPC determine how much the price of a Dangote petrol sell?
We all know that Dangote...
No, not we. I don't know.
No,
do NNPC determine?
Did Dangote or not have a strong or a back and forth with NNPCL?
That is about buying crude. Leave crude sales. We are talking about pump price. There are two different conversations.
Crude is going to affect pump price one way or the other. Doctor, whether we like
crude is an international product. So when you are talking about...
Do we have it in Nigeria or not?
When you are talking about pump price, leave crude out of it. Government doesn't determine what Dangote sells petrol.
That is not possible.
No.
You cannot have a conversation about refining and not have a conversation about crude.
They are two different.
They are two different things, but they work together.
Two different sectors.
Okay.
That's why you have upstream, you have downstream. You have midstream.
Final thought.
And what does NMDPRA mean?
Yes.
Okay.
What does NMDPRA mean?
They are regulators.
For which sector?
Just to issue license and ensure that people keep the license.
For which sector?
Yes, of course.
Downstream.
Not upstream.
Midstream.
So what happened at upstream?
Now let's look at it from here. We said think Nigeria first. And let me take us back to think Nigeria first, because that is where this passion is coming from. We think Nigeria first, and that is why you see us shoulder to shoulder, neck deep, and we say no, Nigeria has to move forward. Now I'm looking forward and believing that with time other refiners will come on board. I'm also looking forward to where we'll see our president. We've seen him do it several times, overnight to even be precise, where he will stand up and say, okay, good, because of our people, we will make sure that they have crude. Even if it means them going to go dig it up themselves. Let me use that direct word. That way, we will be able to see and have the kind of prices that is seen in Venezuela, not just for social reasons, but so that if we can bring down the cost of logistics, transportation down, it will trickle down.
Yes.
The cost of providing raw energy source, it will also trickle down.
Yes.
And to Dangote, we say thank you. But please,
Santa Claus.
let's just leave it at
for salvage.
All right, so it's such an impactful, such an insightful and powerful discussion we've had today on Souq Business Landscape. This is where we'll round up. This is where we'll draw the curtains on Souq Business Landscape. It's been a pleasure staying with us. I am Olumide Sokoya. Omobola.
And I'm Omobola Sandra. So help us God.
Osamhanze Idahosa is my name.
Yes, my name is Souq, John Rogers Souq. You can follow us on Souq News TV on all our social media platforms, and follow me at CGUVNOR, that's C Governor, on all platforms. Thank you.